Hello everyone! Upon arriving in Teyvat, the Primordial created the four shades of itself. At that moment, Teyvat was dominated by dragons. He ignited a war against the dragons that lasted 40 years and victorious proceeded to create heaven and earth. For the next 360 years, he and one of his shadows terraformed the earth. They created mountains and rivers, birds, animals and fish, flowers, grass and trees, and then finally created humans. These events were described in the book Before Sun and Moon. It is hypothesized that Phanes and his shadows correspond to 5 kinds of artifacts: time, space, life, death, and reason. Reason represents Phanes himself and all the others are his shadows. Today I want to talk about each of the shadows and discuss what we've learned from the quests and books so far. Let's start with the Shadow of Life. She is the only shadow whose name we do not know. Most likely it is with it that Phanes created flora, fauna, and humans. Surprisingly, the Shadow of Life is closely related to the Primordial Sea, from which all life on the planet originated. According to Vesup's legend, the Primordial Sea was similar in composition to blood and all life in it was one. In order for life to emerge from the sea onto land, it developed blood vessels that contained the waters of the Primordial Sea. The first Hydro Dragon was the beating heart that set the rhythm of the Primordial Sea. However, it is known that after the war, Phanes destroyed the ruler's dragons. Along with the dragons, the heart of the Primordial Sea was also destroyed. This is stated in the description of Glider Fontaine. Subsequently, a messenger from Celestia, responsible for creating life, created a new heart in the Primordial Sea. Simply put, after the death of the first Hydro Dragon, there was a need to create a new heart for the Primordial Sea. That heart was Egeria, who was the first Hydro Archon. She was created by the Shadow of Life. Unfortunately, that is all that is known about Shadow of Life at this time. Let's discuss Ronova. It turns out that Ronova, contrary to expectations, is not at all a heartless death with a scythe who enjoys suffering. On the contrary, she has love and compassion for people. While Teyvat suffered significant damage from Phanes' fight with the dragons, the most serious damage came to Natlan and his ley lines. Ronova was overcome with guilt that innocent humans were suffering from Phanes' endless battles. Out of love for the people, she, along with Seelie, now known as Lord of the Night, created the Night Kingdom to replace ley lines. But why do the ley lines have such significance? The ley lines act as a vast library that holds the history of the world and every creature that inhabits Teyvat, as well as the energy of all 7 elements. Regions cannot exist for long without ley lines. All life in such places would soon die, and not even memories would be left of it. It was believed that Ronova as a shadow had overstepped her authority, and this displeased Phanes. It was for this reason that when the first Pyro Archon Exbalanque met with Ronova, she explained to him that she was only a shadow and had far less freedom than he imagined. Ronova said that if she was asked about the use of her power, she would say that the insidious Exbalanque had stolen her power and it was not her fault. Thus, Ronova gave Natlan the opportunity to use the Ode of Resurrection. In addition, Natlan's Archons can use her special power if needed. But unfortunately, an ordinary person's body can't withstand her power without repercussions. After using the power of death, the person must die. These are the terms, and the borrowed power will be paid for with your life. Mavuka has already used that power, but no doubt it won't end there. She will need to use Ronova's power several more times, for Abyss still exists. She has once again immersed herself in Night Kingdom and is preparing to strike again. Hence, all indications are that Mavuka will eventually die. I, however, highly doubt this. Either she will rise like the phoenix bird, or she will be resurrected with the Ode of Resurrection. It's no coincidence that in Teyvat's teaser, the last chapter of Natlan's main plot is called Incandescent Ode of Resurrection. But it's worth considering that Ronova has sent Capitano on a long journey. He knows about her and her rules, and is now preparing for some kind of decisive battle. There is a possibility that Capitano may sacrifice himself. Even ranked first among Harbingers and possessing incredible strength, the Curse of Immortality does not save his body from decay, and his original face is no longer beneath the mask. His body is slowly but surely deteriorating. If he is not destroyed by Ronova's power and does not fall in the battle with Abyss, immortality itself will be his undoing sooner or later. Ishtaroth, also called the Shadow of Time, is known as Tokoyo Ukami, Kairos, and Thousand Winds. She was revered in Mondstadt and Enkanomiya even before the time of the Archon War. Over time, Ishtaroth was forgotten, and now few can recall her existence. Ishtaroth's role in Mondstadt's history remains unknown, but there is reason to believe that Barbatos once had a close relationship with her. To this day, some evidence of her presence remains in Mondstadt, such as the Thousand Winds Temple, Nameless Island, and the Solar Clock. Up until a certain point, the people of Mondstadt worshipped both Barbatos and Istaroth, but then, for some reason, the shadow of time was forgotten. The Knights of Favonius library was once completely destroyed in a terrible fire. Perhaps that was why Mondstadt had no information or memories of Istaroth. As a result, people decided that Barbatos was the only god the people of Mondstadt worshipped. Istaroth was also mentioned in Before Sun and Moon. Notably, Istaroth was the only one to respond to the pleas of the people of Enkanomiya, while Phanes and the other shadows remained silent. Out of respect, the people of Enkanomiya called her Kairos, ruler of the unchanging world, or Tokoyo Ukami. Her real secret name was not dared to be spoken, so it was recorded in mirror writing in the annals. At that time, darkness reigned in Enkanomiya, making life hard for people. They were easily victimized by bishops whose lairs were everywhere. But in the year of blindness, Abaraku appeared. Legend has it that Abaraku received wisdom from Tokoyo Ukami, and then the people of Enkanomiya set about erecting Dainichi Mikoshi. Abaraku was able to bring light to Enkanomiya where there had never been sunshine before, and so began the first year of Sun and Moon. The bishops loved darkness and hated light, so they could no longer act with impunity. In the Byakuya Koku collection of books, there is a parable about a tree that suggests that Istaroth helped Inazuma plant sacred sakura, which saved the region during the Kaenrya disaster. According to Raiden A, Istaroth possesses a higher level of power than that possessed by Archons. And finally, we get to the Shadow of Space, sustainer of heavenly principles, unknown god, or as she is also called, Asmodeus. Asmodeus not only controls matter and can create new spaces, but she can also move between spaces both inside and outside of Teyvat. Take her portals for example. What space could she have gotten out of? The blood black colors make it seem like she was constantly wandering in that space, watching Teyvat from the other side of the protective dome. I wonder why we encounter Asmodeus in the beginning and not Phanes himself. Of course, the shadows were originally created to help Phanes, but what if Phanes is long gone from Teyvat and Asmodeus is the only shadow that has retained its original form and powers? Based on these assumptions, we can conclude that Phanes left all the work to Asmodeus and left Teyvat to fend for itself, and Asmodeus, finding hope in our twins, sent them to save Teyvat. But there is a different opinion. Lord of the Night claims that by sleeping, deities can save their strength. What is Heavenly Principles doing now? The gods of Celestia are saving and restoring their strength, probably in order to deal a decisive blow to Abyss in the future. After all, it was she who forced Heavenly Principles into slumber for a full 500 years. Our twin noted that Heavenly Principles' awakening is inevitable, but no one can say when it will happen or what will be the catalyst. The people of Teyvat and Archons have been testing the patience of the heavens for a long time, and it seems that the full awakening of Heavenly Principles is just around the corner. Well, that's the end of my story. Thank you for watching. Write in the comments what you think about Heavenly Principles. Subscribe to my channel. It gives me more motivation to make videos more often and make them more interesting. See you soon.